Welcome to our weekly webinar. This is Mel Bolsamo, your presenter for today's webinar. Sorry about any audio issues at the beginning, but hopefully we can get things right this time. And today we're going to talk about InfoPath list forms. I'll be showing you how you can submit list data from web parts. So without further ado, let's get started here. Switching to my next slide. Okay. And I hope you can see my screen as well. 1 second. Okay, technical problems. What's a presentation if you don't have any technical problems? Bear with me, guys, here for a little bit more while I try to see what's going on. Uh-huh. All right, I believe it is up now. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Dick. All right. So before I actually start, I know I've wasted a couple minutes here, but thank you for your patience. I just want to let you guys know what Qdabra is here for. So as you know, we are InfoPath experts. We have infopathdeb.com. That's your community website. We offer free support there. But if you ever encounter or if you ever find yourselves dealing with complex forms, you can purchase your pay-as-you-go support. We do have MVPs in our team who can offer assistance with your projects. And of course, we do have tools like Heroes, DBXL, and starter templates and template cards, among others that could help you with your projects as well. You can attend our online and in-person trainings for more knowledge about how to deal with InfoPath, with your daily InfoPath battles. Looks like we have upcoming classes in August and September, so feel free to check our website. It's www.qdabra.com for more information on that. And I'm here to deliver this week's weekly webinar, and we do this for free. So hopefully we make you happy just by doing this. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how you can customize SharePoint web part pages to get your list form, your InfoPath list form data to display dynamically. And how are we going to do that? We are going to pass in parameters into the URL to get our list form data to display. And then later on, we will be submitting our changes, any changes we make to that list form data directly from within the web part page. As a bonus, and I'll make this, I'll make our demo quick so we can show you our bonus item today, how you can update drop-down list box options from within an InfoPath form. And why did we select this as this week's topic? Because most organizations today use customized SharePoint pages, right? Most organizations host their websites via SharePoint, and in SharePoint they just customize their pages. And there isn't much, unfortunately, out-of-the-box functionality for what we want to achieve. There is a way today how you can display your InfoPath form via web part, sure, yeah, but it's not that easy to update a list item from those web parts. And so that's our goal for today. And again, how are we going to do this? First, we're going to use the InfoPath web part, InfoPath form web part to get our form to display. And then there is also the query string URL filter web part. That's what we're going to use to pass the ID parameter into our InfoPath web part so it knows which list item to display. And then for submit, since InfoPath list forms don't support, or it's the other way around, unfortunately today QRules doesn't support InfoPath list forms, we can use the camel technique. It's codeless, and it's actually out of the box, although a little harder to configure and all that, but it does work submitting new and updating existing list items. And I will be showing you how to do that. So here's our, let me make sure I'm sharing here. My screen is going to get a little bit bigger, but hopefully you can still see clearly. So this is my SharePoint site. Now I created a sample page here, courses. Now if I look page, if you're seeing the URL at the top, it's just the courses.aspx stock page. So then I don't see, this is my form, but I'm displaying it using an InfoPath web part, but I don't really have data in it. But once I update my URL to include a parameter, and I pass in the ID, and that I call my key param. And so if I set the ID in that parameter, for example, I just want to get the list item whose ID is 12 and enter, now I get data back. And where are we retrieving this item? Let's show you our courses list, show you the 12th item. This is the CS349 user interfaces. That's our title, and going back, it's showing us that list item indeed. And we look like we have a class size of 50 here and 50 here. So yeah, we're sure that that's our list item. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this course. This is really just a simple InfoPath form for today's demo. So I'm going to change my class size since we have 35 attendees today. It started 26. We have 35 attendees. I'm changing that, and I'm just going to straight submit it. So switch me back to the read-only view. Yeah, I do have views, customized views in this form. One, the read-only one, and then as soon as I click Edit Course, switches me to an editable view. So I got 35 there. Let's refresh our courses list and make sure that this list item got updated. We're still showing 50, and I'll refresh. And let's see what we get back on our 12th item. Now it's 35. So that is working. So I'm seeing questions about the webinar now. I'll get to them later. Thanks. And so that's really it. I can just, let's change the parameters so you know that there isn't any magic going on in the passing in parameters piece. Let's choose 5. So I'm changing the URL to param equals 5 and loading. So now we get a different set of data. I'm going to edit it. And now I'm going to show you the bonus item for the dropdown. So right now we're seeing the year as with the option 2. So I got 1, 2, 3, and 5. This is actually a combo box. Let me take you to that list. My drop-down options. This is not what I want. My drop-down options list showing those values, 1, 2, 3, 5. I'm going to go ahead and add a 4th item here from within the form. So again, it's a combo box, and I can just type in anything I want. So if I type in 4 and submit this, as I do this, let me change the class size as well, just so you can see things are changing here and there. And of course, I can also change the title and the description here. And let's do that just for demo purposes. Management, edit it, because I'm being creative today. All right, so again, we changed the year to 4. It's not that option doesn't exist in our list, source list today, but once I submit this, let's see what happens. So we got that 4 back, and if I refresh our drop-down options list, now it got submitted there. And of course, if I go ahead and edit this course, that 4th option is now available for me. So what's a takeaway behind that? You know, there might be scenarios where you have a form where you have a drop down that lists the customer's names, but the customer that you want to select isn't listed in that drop down. So what you want to do is either use a combo box or use a drop down separate from a text box that just hides and show depending on your form logic. But to make things easier, you can use a combo box that the users can type into whatever new value they want to add. And then on submit, it will submit that new value back to the source list. And the next time they open a new form or open that existing form, that new customer will then be available for selection now. So I hope that makes sense. So have we submitted this yet? I guess we have. So I'm going to refresh my courses list for the last time. And we did update this guy here, the 5th item. So we got a title there. Our description shows the text we added there, 61 and year 4. Okay, actually, I think that's it for my demo. And I'm going to switch over to questions now. And we'll look at your questions. All right, we got a question from Stacy. When you pass the list item ID, can you pass multiple at one time? Actually, I'm not done with my demo yet. I didn't show you how things are happening behind the scenes, did I? So let's see here, courses. So let's edit this page. And okay, we're on edit mode. We can see we have at the top that it was hidden in the actual page, but on edit mode, you're going to see that it's a query string URL filter parameter. And let's try and edit this web part. So I just left the default filter name there, the query string. I specify the parameter name, param. This is the key I was trying to pass in up here in my URL. And so any value specifying that parameter will get passed into your form. You can leave the default value blank, and actually everything else you can leave it default. You just need to specify your parameter name here. And then, of course, display the InfoPath web part, which is this portion down here. The InfoPath web part, let's look at the properties, make sure that I'm not doing anything special there. So looks like I'm not. So it's just looking for my courses list. I specified the read-only view as the default to display, and just after submit, close the form. By default, it just wants you to leave the form open, but I changed that to close the form. And I'm not actually using the stock submit functionality, and so we're not seeing the form closing at this point. Yeah. So what makes this magic happen is this connection here. So if we look at our courses InfoPath form web part, look at connections, get data from query string URL filter. So it's going to ask you which field in your list form do you want to map that parameter to. And so in my list form, I have a field I called parameter. and I chose that. I have rules in this parameter. I'm going to show you that in InfoPath Designer in a few minutes. So let's cancel here. And so to answer your question, Stacy, you can indeed pass in multiple parameters as at once. What you're going to want to do there is you leave your param, in my case, parameter as is, but in my value, I can separate multiple values using any character that the SharePoint URL recognizes, I guess. So in my case, I can use a pipe symbol, for example. Let's say 5, and then I'll say mel or something. And then in my rules, I have, special handling for when I am seeing a pipe character in that parameter, I'll do something different. And let's actually switch you to my form to get a better understanding of the logic behind this. Okay, so I don't have any form load rules. When the form loads, nothing happens really. But just to let you know, form load rules run first before any rule in your passed-in parameter. So for example, you have stuff on form load. For example, you want to be able to switch views via that parameter. You can't actually do that. I guess there are other ways, but I haven't really explored on that much. So because if you have a form load rule here that switches views, for example, it's going to do that first before it could pass in the parameter. And as we know, in a field, there isn't any action to switch view. So just want to point that out. Okay. So when the form loads and my form detected a value in that parameter, it's going to pass in that value into this parameter field as we specified in the connections, right, in the web part connections. And so we have rules here. If parameter is not linked, we get our list form data. So we said I added in this form, I added a courses secondary data source, which is my courses list. And in my query, I'm setting the ID to the value I passed in to that parameter. Okay? And then I query my data connection next. And once a form exists for that passed-in ID, I set my main data source fields from that query, from the result of that query. So I first set my ID, main data source, to the ID of the courses from the return of my query there, courses ID, and so on and so forth. Everything else, all other fields, I'm just making sure that I'm passing in the values. And so that's why we're seeing my title up here and my description and everything else. So that's what makes this happen. And then for editing course, I just switch my view to my other view, my edit view. And there's my submit button. My submit button does all the setting of the list grids and the method. We are submitting the same way how we're doing it with QRules. If you're familiar with QRules, which most of you are, we are using the update list items web service method. I'll show you that. Web service submit update list items. So we created a mapping file, and this is actually a separate topic, how you're able to submit using the camel technique, but I will include documentation and how you can do that. So yeah, I basically use this U2U camel query builder to generate my mapping, and created this mapping as an XML file right here. This is for my courses. Mapping, added that into my form, and now setting values, which are then getting submitted. So it's actually really easy, but if your form has started, if your form starts to have a number of fields and whatnot, it can get a little tedious. Proceeding to questions, sorry about that. Okay. Hopefully, Stacy, I was able to answer your questions. We have a question from Dick Penny. Some of the fields can be read-only, correct? Yeah, read-only in the sense that you can't edit it, right? And so I have my read-only view here that they're showing just calculated values. And if I like switch to my edit view, I can choose not to make these editable text boxes, just make them stay as calculated values. Yeah. One last question from John. Though you are using SharePoint 2010, any formatting issues with SharePoint 2013? No, there isn't issues with SharePoint 2013. I actually started this prototype. I started prototyping this in SharePoint 2013. The gotcha there, though, is, as we know, as most of you know, calling web services in SharePoint 2013, and it might be true with Office 365 as well, needs to involve UDCX files with secure store credentials, secure store target application, if I can remember things correctly here. So there are additional configuration steps needed in SharePoint 2013, and like I said, I think in Office 365 as well. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So I guess that's it. Let me make sure I'm covering all of my slides here. Okay, webinar kits. Okay, PowerPoint is not participating again. Yeah, you're here, so you're seeing this webinar session, and you get to receive or download our webinar kit for today if you fill out that survey at the end. Be kind, please. But if you ever miss this webinar, we will upload this in YouTube, and you can purchase the webinar kit for just small amount. And yeah. So thank you everyone for your patience with all of the technical issues today. I really appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you in my next webinar. Take care, guys. Bye.